Hello and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And also, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I'll introduce you to my wonderful guest, Karin Johnson. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it really means a lot to me to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm a guide who helps you remember your divine presence so that you can heal your past, create your future, and transform your present, raise your consciousness, understand your spiritual path, and take charge of your destiny so that you can spread your wings and soar. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I use angelic Reiki, future life progression, past life regression, guided meditation, angel oracle cards, and divine presence to assist you in remembering why you are here, your spiritual path, and clarity on the next step to take. I also offer multidimensional virtual retreats, several transformational packages, a journey through lifetimes, a 6-week guided meditation series to help you gain confidence, and various workshops and a retreat down in Glastonbury. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or an angel oracle card reading, and the wisdom of my wonderful guest, like today's guest, Karin Johnson, about how understanding your birth chart deeply connects you with your own unique destiny and cycles of becoming. Now, Karin has been studying the wisdom tradition of astrology for over 10 years, both on her own and with mentor teacher Robert Ayres. Now, one's birth time and location deeply connects you with your own unique destiny and cycles of becoming. It is both a practical and spiritual tool for navigating times of change. By understanding the big picture and increasing conscious awareness of self limiting patterns of thinking, feeling, and action, while tapping into innate skills and abilities. Astrology empowers, strengthens, and connects you to your own intuitive knowing for greater purposeful action, aligned intentions, and right timing. So, without further delay, hello, Karin, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
Hi, Ray. Thank you. I am doing great on the other side of a cold today, but feeling a lot better. And thank you so much for having me. I've seen and listened to so many podcasts. This is my first opportunity to be a guest on someone's podcast, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for agreeing to come on. So, before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you all that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments, and thoughts, as both Karin and I want to be part of this conversation. So, please don't be shy. So, Karin, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how astrology can help us with our own unique destiny?
Yeah. So, gosh, there's so many different directions I can take that question. But for me, like when I was in my college age years, university years, I was like I was always searching and seeking for something that I couldn't find. And I studied architecture in college, and I would often find myself in the library sifting through books. Like I would spend lots of time in the philosophy section. I don't know what I was looking for. I was searching for something, and reading my roommates' psychology books, and trying to better understand myself, but not really feeling both like at the same time like a disconnect with fitting in with my peers of the time, and always kind of feeling like a little bit of an outlier, though I didn't have that word to use or that language at the time. But I always kind of just felt like I was having a hard time like finding my place or fitting in or connecting. And so in my late 20s, I was part of a kind of a women's group that was studying art and how to bring out your creativity. Um, and the woman who was facilitating that group asked me, I was 29 years old. She asked me, "Have you ever had an astrology reading?" And I said, "No, but I'm really open to that." And she gave me a contact, Robert Ayres, who then ended up becoming my teacher and now mentor. Um, and I had my first astrology reading. My only knowledge of astrology prior to that time in my late 20s was I knew what my sun sign was as a Libra, but there was a lot of that I didn't resonate with, because Libras are supposed to be, really social and outgoing and like love going to parties, and that couldn't be further from the truth for me. So I'm like, some of these things fit and a lot of these things don't. So what's the deal with that? There was always an intrigue there, but I just didn't know. I didn't know how deep it could go. And this first consultation I had with my now teacher mentor was it blew my mind. It was so the first thing I can say that it was so validating for me to see have this system that based on the moment of your birth, which is a sacred moment, so it's the moment of birth but also your first breath in life, really connects you to the cosmic energy in this physical 3D reality. And the way that he frames it, and the energy that he brings to the conversation, is very much a spiritual uh, lens through which to look at astrology. And so, it's described as like, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So in this first breath that we take, it's like there's an imprint of the cosmos within our psyche, that then unfolds in these unique cycles of time over our lifetime. And each one of us is completely individual and unique. And what he was describing to me about myself really validated a lot of the struggles that I had had around depression, feeling shut down, low self-esteem. Those were some of the highlights. But then, like, there was this beautiful thing that happened about he was able to pull out like these innate abilities that I come in with, that in my own awareness and mind was like just like most faint whisper. Like sometimes I would say to myself, I might have an experience that felt good, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I have this quality. But it was like this most subtle whisper, and I didn't believe it because all of this other stuff that felt like it was weighing me down had such control over how I put myself out in the world, that it was really overpowering. And so what that did, that moment and that one session, really started to like anchor me into my unique sense of self and these karmic patterns that I came in with of thinking, feeling, and action, that I in with to heal and work on. And so these struggles are not for naught. These struggles are like literally the opportunity in areas of growth. And then and then working through those, then these innate skills and abilities that I came in with, that we all have, like, could become stronger. And so really it's really about being able to connect more deeply with one's own intuition, so that you're empowered to make decisions that really are in an alignment with you. And then those other external influences that can be also really powerful, like cultural and social and family and even friends to some degree, there can be so much noise, outer noise, that it can be really, really hard to connect with our inner self when there's all that external stuff going on, and perhaps expectation from other places. So that was really the beginning of me anchoring to myself in a way that I could grow from an empowered place. And it's been quite the journey, to get to this point, which even, Ray, as you know, witnessed my first attempt at a live in the feminine frequency space.
You did really
And just
well.
what's that?
You did very well.
Thank you so much. And just to be in that space in that moment, what felt like a tremendous effort, overcoming lots of fear to be able to like show up in this moment, and just, do I have the confidence to just be myself, and to trust that whatever comes up in the moment is what needs to come up. And it took it's been over a decade in development just to be able to show up in this space. And so that's kind of yeah, does that feel
Yeah,
do
no, that sounds great. And and it's kind of like, I think, what a lot of people have with it. And something that crossed my mind when you said that was, everyone keeps, talks about, oh, karmic issues, and things like that. And it's like, what are they? And obviously some people use past life regression, etc. But astrology is another great way of actually seeing those things. Okay, all these things that happen to me, why? Oh, because I'm meant to learn, and and I can see where those patterns come from in the astrology.
Yes, yes, very, very tangibly. And I can share more about that if you want, but if you want
Yeah,
us to go in a different direction. Yeah, so I think because you're fairly new to astrology as well, right? So I can kind of
yeah,
just
yeah,
share some very basic information just to kind of highlight some of the structure of it and how it can get really specific. Um, so most people know what their sun sign is. And the sun sign is connected to your spirit, and um, it's what we're becoming in this lifetime. So it's kind of the sun plays a central role in who we have chosen to be in this lifetime.
right,
But there's all the other planets are an aspect of our consciousness as well. So if you want to understand your soul, we look to the moon, and the moon is also the soul. I don't maybe your audience is probably pretty open to this. I'm imagining, but like the
yeah,
soul is an eternal um, being eternal. And so the soul is what carries all of our memories of past lives. So when we're talking about the moon and wanting to understand, if you want to understand your emotions or your instincts and how you might instinctually respond to something or get triggered by something emotionally, we would look to the moon and what sign it's in and where and what house it's placed in. When I say house, there's 12 houses in astrology, and they each deal with a particular area in life. So the seventh house would be marriage and partnership, or partner, like a business partner, or it would be your relationship with the other. First house is self, seventh house is the opposite of that, and it's the other. If you wanted to understand your career and how you offer service in the world, we would look at the 10th house of career and profession, which is where your sun is, where you are shining as brightly as you can be and how people see you in the world. But then the quality of service that you offer through that work, we would look to the 6th house. So I just want to say what the houses are, because that really anchors in the energy, or where when your planets are placed in particular houses, it's like, okay, I really chose to focus on this particular area of life through this part of my consciousness. So that could be your soul, is your moon sign, which is your soul. Then there's Mercury. Mercury is your mind. It's communication. It's how we take information in and then give it back out. So you could be like an Aries sun sign who's super fiery and gregarious and like just willing to take action without necessarily thinking about it. But then the way that you communicate might be, you might have your Mercury in Pisces, and the way that you communicate is totally different from that fiery Aries energy. And so this is where a lot of a lot more detail comes in beyond the sun sign, because it's like, oh yeah, well I'm this sun sign, but I'm also have this other thing that doesn't make sense to my sun sign. So when we look to these other planets, they can really give us a lot of information about how we express that part of ourselves. So Mercury is communication. Venus is how we relate to other people. It's what we love. Mars is how we take action. And then you get into the outer planets. Well, the two social planets, Jupiter and Saturn, those are kind of how Saturn is contraction and Jupiter is expansion. But it very much relates to how we what is our place in the world? How do people perceive us? How do we operate in the world? The planets I described before, Jupiter and Saturn, those are more personal. And then it gets to the social planets, Jupiter, Saturn. And then the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, those are more collective. And so if we have a personal planet, like let's say your sun sign is somehow connected with Uranus, the energy of Uranus is very much about freedom and liberation and awakening, and someone who's very outside of the box, someone who is ahead of their time. That's kind of Uranian energy. So if you have your sun or your moon or your Mercury, Venus, or Mars connected with Uranian energy, like you have the ability to tap into a collective energy, but in a very personal way. Um, and and it's also, those three planets express a higher octave of some of the other planets I talked about. So Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. So it's a more elevated expression of what that Mercury can become. Um, Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, the heart. And Neptune describes unity consciousness, where everyone and everything is connected. And it's really about compassion and a really expanded sense of love for humanity. And then Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, and Pluto is the power of the soul. So I mean, there's so much detail you can
Yeah.
get into, but I just wanted to just really touch on the fact that each of those planets express an aspect of our consciousness, and they could be in any one of 12 houses or areas of life in the natal chart, and they can be in any one of 12 different signs, so they could express differently. And then those planets have relationships with each other. So where the karmic part comes in is when you have a in most natal charts, you'll see like a red lines or blue lines.
Mm.
Blue lines are a little more harmonious. They're energy that comes easily to you. There's our skills and our abilities that we innately come in with. Whereas the squares and oppositions are the red lines. Those are that's more challenging karma. It's
Okay.
what we've chosen to come in and grow through and master. Yeah.
Yeah. Often wondered why you had blue into red lines on there. Now I know.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you see them and you kind of go, yeah, it's red and blue. No one's really actually explaining explaining that one to me. And Georgia says hi to all, and Eric says, "Hey Ray and Karin, hope you are well. If you've got any questions or anything you want to ask them, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments whilst you've got Karin here. Um, talking today about astrology. So, how does it kind of like, our uniqueness be? Because obviously you said, like, okay, so if two people, okay, if two people were born on the same day at the
Mhm.
same time, they would have exactly the same birth date, but they
Yes.
would have the same. They actually have the same birth chart.
Hmm. Yeah. So how are they unique, even though they have the same
Yeah.
birth time? Yeah, that's a really great question. So within like this, it's astrology is like a language, and within each part of that language, there are many possibilities. And so when people are born at the same time, uh, the same day, even same time, the place of birth.
Ah.
So there's a culture. Like I have heard that we also, our souls also choose which country we need to be born in to develop this part ourselves. And so there's a cultural influence. There's also the family inheritance that we come into. So you take 10 different people that are born, within 5 minutes of each other on the same day, but they're in a totally different family energy. They're in a different culture, different climate. Like all of those things can, even twins, like twins are a great example. I haven't looked at any charts myself of twins, but I have heard other astrologers talk about how, twins can express like polar opposites of each other, and they can take on different. There's so much nuance in the chart that you can express in different ways, even though you have similar similar energetic makeup in terms of the how the planets relate to each other. The other thing though is, and this kind of gets into house systems, and there's a lot of different theories on this. I use what's called Koch house system, which when you use that, like depending on what latitude on the earth you are, some houses can get bigger and some can get smaller. So there's also the relationship to where you were born on the earth that can then shift those planets to one house or the other. If a planet is like really close, like at the end of one house, but it's close to the next one, sometimes that can kind of shift. So there's some nuance there too.
Oh, wow. So I didn't realize that houses could be bigger or smaller.
Hmm. There are some people that use what's called whole sign house, where all the houses are the same sign. And that's just a different system. It's not the one that I learned, and so I've stuck with what I've started with. So,
Yeah. No,
but
you're
yeah, there's different ways to look at it, and some will say like there's um, different house systems can have different uses depending on what you're trying to do or accomplish. So,
yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. So what else can astrology sort of like offer us?
perspective. Perspective during challenging times. The time that I had my first natal chart reading, I was really struggling, and I realized I was having. I think this is even becoming more and more recognizable, just in the like mainstream collective. Is a Saturn return. The Saturn return is when the planet Saturn, which has a 29 and a half year cycle, comes back to the same place where it was when you were born.
Okay.
And that's usually for many people, if you are not on a path where you're really aligned to your higher self, or where you really need to go, that's when people tend to make fairly big life changes or moves or job changes, marriages starting or breaking up, children being born. Lots of big shifts can happen around that 28 to 30-year period, or 28 to 30 years old time period of our lives. And so, and Saturn transits can feel really heavy. Saturn is the most dense of energies, and where Saturn is placed in our chart is often where we it's kind of what brings us back into incarnation in a sense, because it's the something in a past life that wasn't fulfilled. And so we come in with this kind of wherever it is and whatever sign it's in, and if it's aspecting sensitive points in our chart, is where we've come to do a lot of work in. It's where we've come to like grow and take a lot of responsibility in. Responsibility is definitely a Saturn word. It's where we've come to um, develop a sense of patience and perseverance and overcoming fear, particularly. For me, Saturn is closely conjunct. It just means it's right next to my sun and my moon. So it was no wonder that I was feeling super shut down at that time in my life. And so it's just one example of like when we're going through tough times, astrology can be very helpful because it shows us the bigger picture. It allows us to zoom out of kind of just being really immersed in the story, and zoom out to get a bigger perspective on what's really going on, and realize like, look, there is an opportunity during this tough time that we have to grow beyond those self-limiting habits and patterns. And just having that perspective can help you to see that. So um, you can see the opportunity and the challenge. And the beautiful thing with astrology is it shows you the timeline. It shows you how long you're working with that particular activation. It shows you
Okay.
when is it the most intense, and then when is it starting to lighten up, so that you can harness that potential and make the most of it in a really conscious way, as opposed to, because how many of us can identify with like the fact of like, gosh, why am I doing this thing again? Like,
Yeah.
I repeat, like here I am in this like similar situation and I'm just repeating myself. And so that's the karma in our natal chart. And so when we can see that and consciously connect with it and develop the awareness of those patterns, we can be more proactive so we're not repeating them, and we can use that cycle to break out of those habits and patterns. So it's the perspective piece is really huge. Um, and understanding like, okay, I'm in this thing, it's not going to last forever, this is the time I have to work with. I can pull from other positive things that are happening to help support during that time, and just to make the most of the opportunity and help. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
feels it's validating as well, like, okay, I can do,
Yeah.
I can do this. So
Yeah. Because, yeah, if you kind of like, yeah, you're kind of like feel a bit lost and confused about, okay, not quite sure where I need to go now, why
mhm.
this is happening, then it makes sense that the astrology would sort of like give you um those ideas. So obviously, if you're having a chart done personally, it obviously tells you a lot more. And because I think you said a sun sign, moon sign, rising sign. Um, so if you've got all these different signs, should you be reading, say like, if you don't have a personal reading, but the general ones that people do, should you be listening to all three of them to see which one resonates with you the most, or just your sun sign one, or
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So I think the way to put this is a, a good astrologer will be able to see, um, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? That there's that classic quote. It's been one of
yeah,
my favorites for a very long time. And so if we can a good astrologer is going to be able to put all of that together so that it all makes sense to you and you're feeling the validation and acknowledgement of all those different sides of yourself that are working together. Now, like whenever in any given moment of time, there might be so there's a word called transits. So the moment when you were born was like is literally a snapshot of where all the planets were at the time of your birth. But then, planets are always moving. And
yeah,
when so the transits are when we look at, okay, I was born in this moment and now such and such planet is somewhere else in the sky. It can activate a particular part of your natal chart so that like this is why like annual check-ins with an astrologer can be really helpful because just looking at where Jupiter is in the sky and how and what part of your life it's activating shows you where like what is my focus for this year. Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, so it spends 1 year in each about 1 year in each house.
okay,
So you can see like, oh, um, Jupiter is going to be coming up to my sun sign in my second house, and I'm going to feel a boost of confidence and opportunities. I'm going to feel a sense of expansion around creating wealth and abundance because the second house is creating wealth and abundance, but it's also being able to do that is very much aligned with our how we feel our deservingness, our sense of deservingness, and uh, and our self-esteem. So how we value ourselves is very much related to how we can attract wealth and abundance into our lives. So transiting Jupiter can show where there's opportunities for areas of expansion in the year. When we look at where Saturn is transiting, Saturn is, with what I said earlier, it's a contracting energy and it's kind of heavy and it's asking us to wherever that is at any moment of time is where we're really focusing, where we were really needing to take additional responsibility and kind of reevaluate a particular area of life. So because it's a focusing energy, it's like looking like if you have a Saturn transit through your seventh house of marriage and partnership, you might be going through a time where you're reevaluating um, your partner and the connection that you have. And like, do if it's truly meant to be a lasting connection, then that partnership will survive that heavy transit of Saturn through your seventh house of marriage and partnership. And if it's not, and you decide to do counseling or work on it, and it doesn't work out, well, then it's the opportunity to maybe move on from that partnership that's not allowing you to come into your own and grow more fully. So sometimes we need to leave partnerships. So it's either making them stronger, or it's like, okay, we need to pare this part of our life down or make a big change. So that's just two examples of understanding how the energy can interact with our own natal chart. Coming back to your original question, Ray. Sorry, that kind of like
That's okay. No, that's fine.
got a little tangential there, but it's really seeing the whole picture and then being able to tie that down to, or no, that doesn't sound right. Being able to put it together into a whole picture that would resonate with you, because all those pieces are kind of coming through in a holistic way.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense rather than just the one bit. It's kind of like the whole bit as well. And you sometimes see, and I think a couple of Hollywood stars or something have done it, where before they get married, they both get their charts done and see if they're compatible
Okay.
or not. Well, I suppose that's a good idea, but you know, is it so nothing? So is okay. So is it fixed, or
Oh,
is it you can actually make those changes?
the second, yeah, you can absolutely make those changes. I We always have free will choice. So my one way that my teacher has put it is that our karma will happen to us on time, but it's what we do with that and like how we respond to that, which is that's where the free will choice comes in.
Right.
And so it's we're going to get shown something based on where our current level of growth is. And like another, like just a little spin to put on that is that if we're paying attention to like the more subtle signs that we're getting incrementally and make smaller shifts at that time, then we're less likely to have the bigger catastrophic or crisis oriented change that's like, okay, you're not listening to the signs, and now something bigger needs to happen to help wake you up and break out of that cycle. And so we always have free will choice. I believe that. And that's how I learned. And it's just what are we going to do with that energy? And so that's where, we can make those conscious choices. And it's we're always a work in progress. So I believe that growth is on a spiral, and we come back to, we're coming back to a similar place that we might have been 12 years ago or 30 years ago, but it's like it's the next level of that similar energy, and being able to just take that next step. So that's another benefit of the astrology, is being able to look in the past and understand, like, oh, this particular energy, when it activates me in a certain way, has happened on certain intervals throughout my past, and I can see how I've evolved and grown over that time. And it gives you more opportunity to even grow beyond where you're at in that moment. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That sounds pretty good that you can actually look at it from how it was when all those planets were last in that particular thing to see, okay, what didn't I or learn or there, but now I've actually got that chance again to
Mhm.
to evolve from that. Um, and I think that sounds pretty good that we can do that.
It's fun. I've spent a lot of time doing that myself, just to see how the past cycles have, how I've responded to them before I even knew what astrology was, and then like, oh, like what can I do with it now that I do have such greater awareness of these cycles? You can work more proactively, rather than being reactive to life, and more
Yeah.
angry or frustrated about, God, why am I in this situation again? It's like, okay, yep, I see I have some work in this part of my life to do. And this next year I have a big opportunity to really make some strides in that. So,
Yeah. No, I like that. That sounds really good. So thank you for that. Now, as you know, I do angel oracle cards readings, and I also do guided meditation. So each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or pull an angel oracle card for themselves and those watching. So Karin, you get to choose. What would you like me to do?
let's do an oracle card.
Yay! Funny enough, I have the cards here already. I like doing the cards. Um, as always, when I do the cards, I do the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because although I work with the past, when I work with the past, it's to heal and understand it so it doesn't affect you in the present. And when I work with the future, it's so you can see and understand the future so it doesn't affect you in the present. So we'll just carry in, and everyone who's watching this live or on the replay. Okay, we'll go with that one then, shall we? As soon as it jumped. Actually, we go with both of these because they both jumped out. So we have infinite abundance. Abundance is pouring into your life, and protected by angels. You are cherished by the angels. So absolutely perfect cards to come in for you and those watching, and it's reminding you, that you are surrounded and looked after by the angels at this moment in time, and that there is abundance actually now pouring into your life, that there is infinite abundance out there. And again, using the astrology, you can see where that infinite abundance can actually come from, and how you can get it. Um, so it's really great that both those cards have actually come out for this reading, both for you, Karin, and for those watching, in that know that you're protected and cherished by the angels, and that there is abundance literally pouring into your life as we speak at this moment in time, and it's going to be coming in quite a lot, and that in the future. So yeah, pretty cool cards to come out um, for now. So Karin, do you have any insights or thoughts to leave our viewers?
Yeah, the one thing that came up when you were pulling the
Mm,
infinite abundance card, and the thing that I think has kept my interest and love for astrology, just it's never waned. It's continued to grow in the last decade that I've been studying it. And that is such a beautiful tool to it really shows us how we're all unique. And I don't, at least in the United States or in the Western world, I feel like it's so it seems like there's such limited choice, like culturally. It's going to university, it's like there's really not with if we're all aligned on our path and connected with our innate sense of creativity, we I believe like our world is going to be such a better place because we're not just doing this thing or on this path because we have to be. We're like fully turned on and aligned with who we are, and we're out there sharing our unique creative gifts that no one else is going to be able to do just like us. That's then going to serve part of our community that's been waiting for us to like to figure this out. And I imagined it when I was really young, like a puzzle. Like we're all like part of this puzzle, and we each have like a special place. And to the degree as a humanity that we can figure out how to connect with our creative self-expression, which comes in many forms, not just traditional like art.
yeah.
Like this creative self-expression is just, I feel like we're at a time where we're just waiting, where we're ready and just wanting to like really light ourselves up so that we can be living in greater joy and fulfillment. And then that abundance piece from the card like comes in because it's just going to come back to us when we're shining our own light. People are going to be drawn to that. People are going to be really attracted to that, and it will inspire other people. So that's the last thought that I had.
Yeah, perfect. And the fact that astrology can actually, can actually do that for us, is absolutely amazing. And I'm looking forward because Karen's going to be doing my my astrology. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. It's going to be exciting. And that so as talking of me having my natal chart and that looked at by you, Karin, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, the easiest way right now is just to reach out to me through email, which you there's a spot on my website. My website is cosmicrootsastrology.com. My email is Karin at cosmicrootsastrology.com. And that's the easiest way right now because I'm kind of my website I had created a couple of years ago before I was even ready to like start doing this regularly. And I had to restructure a few things and just to really keep it simple right now. So I am yeah, just doing consultations with people, and I'm offering a discount right now because I'm just kind of starting to build that momentum and really launch into this project this year. And so yeah, email is the best way, and then I can share more there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you do stuff on Instagram at all, or?
I do have Instagram. It's not active right now. I'm there. And I think as this year progresses, I've been thinking about being more active on there, but it's not, I'm just focused on doing consultations at the moment. But I have a place there to grow into at some point. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I've got an Instagram account, and yeah, I don't. It's there.
it's
Um,
there. Yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes we can have so much social media and stuff and platforms and everything that it kind of like gets
Mhm.
overwhelming, and you kind of like get lost. It's like no, no, no. Now let me just focus on one or two.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, no, so that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful because I know I definitely have. And you'll actually look at astrology in a slightly different way now, and maybe even check out having your chart read. So thank you so much, Karin, for sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on as a guest. So thank you.
Thank you so
Um,
much, Ray. It's been awesome and a pleasure.
Excellent. So, everyone watching, if you are now ready to remember your divine presence and step onto your spiritual multidimensional path, but you feel lost, confused, stuck, or alone, then please feel free to connect with me, and we can work out how we can take you forward to take charge of your destiny so that you can spread your wings and soar. And of course, please feel free to join my weekly newsletter and receive a free future life progression recording where I take you into a future lifetime to get guidance and clarity that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts on there. So, again, thank you everyone so much for watching and saying hello. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified when the show goes live or I post new guided meditations. And each subscription, like, bell notification really does help. And I look forward to you all joining me same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.